Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss warfarin and other common anticoagulants. So let's discuss. I am presenting the case of a 65 years old man with arterial fibrillation has been using warfarin for the past 12 months after he presented to the local emergency department with a sign of transient ischemia TIA. A head CT scan and transesophageal echocardiogram done at the time were normal. He has been well since you have asked Bob to come and see you as INR. INR stands for International Normalization Ratio, that is used to measure the excessive clotting or bleeding disorders. And we found that the INR value is 4.6, which is quite high. Usually it ranged between 2 to 3. As we mentioned, measure every 2 weeks and have been stable in the range between 2 to 3. He has not started any new prescribed medication recently. Bob also has hypertension, osteoarthritis, for which he had left total hip replacement 6 months ago. Current medication consists of atenolol 50 mg once daily, rampiril 10 mg once daily, and warfarin 6 mg at night. On examination, BP was 140, 80 mm of Hg, pulse rate 65, which is irregular. The remainder of the physical examination is normal with no evidence of bruising, epistaxis or gastrointestinal bleeding. So let's discuss warfarin. The name warfarin itself is very interesting because it comes from Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. And this is actually, you can see that if you break this word, W stand for Wisconsin, A stand for alumni, R stand for research, and F stand for foundation. So that's the name that give warfarin, and it was used as rodenticides before and generally used as sodium salt and having the bioavailability of 100%. Among them, 99% is bound to plasma albumin and having a long half-life of 36 hours, and they having lack of urinary excretion of unchanged drug. So it means that they eliminate in the body in unchanged form, because we need to understand sometimes the drug will be extracted into active form or inactive form after metabolization. So this drug will be metabolized in unchanged form. So it means what the drug we giving inside, it remain the same, it bind with the plasma albumin level, and then after that it eliminate as same. There is no change or there is no formation of metabolites. This is a picture of warfarin, and actually there are two type of warfarin, R and S warfarin. Now what is R warfarin and S warfarin? It is actually the spatial configuration. What is meant by spatial configuration? It, in simple words, it is three-dimensional structure. What you look this drug in this picture is just like 2 dimension, x-axis and y-axis. But actually what the drug look in 3-dimensional space is like a 3-dimensional structures where different functional groups that has been attached. Like if you see this paper, we have aromatic ring, hydroxyl group, carbonyl group, and then we have methyl group, we have carbonyl group. So again, they are different function groups, forming different spatial structural units, and then in the space we see them, their activity on the basis of their functional groups, and which functional group is more active and which functional group is less active. So again, this is pure chemistry. I'm not going to explain you in detail in this topic, but you can see that there are two configuration of warfarin. One is R warfarin and the other is S warfarin. R warfarin and S warfarin we configure based upon their functional group and their positions. If you take a look of this slide, there are different derivatives. Actually, the name we mentioned warfarin and coumarin derivatives. So warfarin and coumarin derivatives, we have a structural ring which is known as coumarin. And if you take a look of this slide, I show you a small picture on the left side where you can see the coumarin derivative consists of benzene ring, then we have ester, and then we have alkene. So the coumarins, actually these are the chemical structure that is made from benzene ring and ester and alkane. This is a combination of different functional group that make a big functional group that is known as coumarin. And then if you take a look of dicoumarol, warfarin, phenedione and phytonadione, they all having the same ring, having the benzene ring, and they have alkene ring, and they having ester, but obviously they have some other functional groups attached. And again, I am not going to explain the chemistry for you because I know that you have limited knowledge. But if you are not familiar with chemistry, in simple terms, that the coumarin derivatives are warfarin, they are actually made up of different functional groups, and in coumarin the functional groups are benzene ring, ester and alkanes. They make together the coumarin ring, and this ring is present in warfarin and other coumarin derivatives. Let's discuss the mechanism of action. So the mechanism of action is that it blocks gamma carboxylation of several glutamate residues in prothrombin and factor 7, factor 9, factor 10, as well as some of the protein like protein C and protein S. And by blocking the gamma carboxylation, it inactivates the coagulation process. And because of inactivation the coagulation process, we reduce the coagulation or thrombin formation. And we have to understand that the coagulation process is coupled with vitamin K. Vitamin K is an important ingredient, or you can say the constituent for the coagulation. And because of the deactivation of the vitamin K through blockage of the carboxylation, and the blockage of the carboxylation trigger to block factor 7, factor 9, factor 10, then it stops the process of coagulation. And the action of this whole mechanism and action is usually take 8 to 12 hours of delay, because it needs whole time to complete that process. The dose that has been given is around 0.75 milligram per kg, is the larger initial dose up to 0.75 milligram per kg for the onset of anticoagulant effect. I am also going to present one animated video regarding mechanism of action as well. So I will discuss with you how this mechanism works. Usually this process involving a chemical process involving vitamin K reductase. And actually warfarin, what will actually doing that warfarin, when we give warfarin, it replaces vitamin K, because vitamin K is very important parameter for the blood coagulation. So it replaces vitamin K at vitamin K reductase, and by replacing the vitamin K at vitamin K replaces and warfarin come into exist, it triggers the action. And as a result, because now vitamin K is not active, then it affects the gamma glutamyl carboxylase, and then the gamma glutamyl carboxylase trigger gamma carboxylic glutamic acid. It blocking the gamma carboxylic glutamic acid. As a result, the clotting factors such as factor 2, factor 7, factor 9, factor 10 and protein CES will become inactive. And that's how the suppression, these all factors are known as suppression of the clotting factors. They suppress the clotting factors. So that's the process that it proceed. So when we discuss about the warfarin administration and dosage, the initial recommended dose is 5 to 10 milligram daily, and we need to measure the INR. As we discussed in the case study, the therapeutic range of INR has been given and it is the prothrombin time ratio, which calculated with the patient prothrombin time divided by mean of the normal prothrombin time in the lab. And the recommended INR is 2 to 3, but patient having, we discussed in the case study, is more than 3. Patient will have, obviously, that have heart problems like heart valve or tilting disc or other medical condition have high risk of thrombolism or thrombotic risk, and still the recommended range is 2.5 to 3.5 in medical condition. The toxic effect consists of bleeding, which is the most dangerous effect. Warfarin can cause the placenta readily and can cause hemorrhagic disorder in the fetus. It can cause birth defects, and it can cause necrosis, infarction of the breast, fatty tissues and extremities due to venous thrombosis, and the other reason is because of the decrease of the protein C. As we discussed before, that protein C will become inactivated, and the inactivation of protein C is also responsible for necrosis, cutaneous necrosis, infarction of the breast, fatty tissues and intestine. The drug-drug interactions consist of number 1, decrease the plasma protein binding. It can cause synergistic effect leading to impaired hemostasis, because obviously there will be chances of more bleeding because the absence of factors, absence of protein C and protein S. So it can impair the hemostasis, it can decrease the clotting factors in especially hepatic diseases. It can act as competitive antagonist. Obviously we discussed in the mechanism of action that vitamin K have very important role as coagulation, but because it replaces vitamin K, so it could work as a competitive antagonist, and it can replace the vitamin K and come into its position replacing vitamin K, as we see in the animation as well. The most serious interaction are those that increase anticoagulation effect and risk of bleeding, as we discussed before, because increase of bleeding can cause hemorrhage. Phenylbutazone and sulfonylurea not only increase the hyperprothrombinemia but also decrease the platelets function and may induce peptic ulcer disease. So these drugs also can interact and can lead to hyperprothrombinemia and decrease the platelet function. So we need to be very careful with these drugs. The most important thing is that the potential warfarin interaction with dietary supplements, and there are different dietary supplements that have been used in traditional Chinese medicine, in alternative medicines, in different Ayurvedic medicines. They have an interaction with the potential warfarin. Like if you see on the right side, they are garlic, ginkgo biloba, clove and ginger, and they are present in subcontinent. They are present in every food. So if we using the warfarin along with these supplements, they can increase the risk of bleeding. So we need to be careful if a person is already taking warfarin, we need to ask the food what he or she is taking. So please, as traditional Chinese medicine, there are a lot of medicinal herbs is involved. We need to see the potential interaction of the herbal supplements along with the drug that a patient is using. So in the clinical management, you just need to ask the patient what food he or she is taking. Then licorice and willow, it contains salicylic acids. Actually, the salicylic acid is isolated and extracted from licorice and willow bark. They have a long history regarding that, so it can also increase the risk of the bleeding. Then there is another supplement that is present as dihydroepiandrosterones, and they are also having the increased risk of bleeding and can cause fibrinolysis. Then yarrow is another supplement that can increase the risk of thromboembolism, having procoagulant activity. Then arnica or chamomile, fenugreek, they can increase prothrombin time and INR because it contains coumarin derivatives. As the herbal, these are medicinal herbs. You have to understand that this herb consists of bioactive compound. Many students ask me this question, that why drug producing that effect, why this drug is active, how we get the benefit. So when we talk about herbal medicines, alternative medicines, we need to discuss in terms of the bioactive compound, the chemistry. For example, if you drink green tea, so green tea contain flavonoids, which is a class of chemical compounds, and these structural compounds actually they are responsible for giving that activity. How? The compounds containing different functional groups like carbonyl group, like amide group, like amino group, like sulfonyl group, like anilines, they are, and coumarin is example, like in penicillin we have beta lactam ring. So they all these structural units are very important and they are responsible for producing that effect. So we need to understand that in case of salvia, arnica, chamomile, fenugreek, these all drugs actually these herbal supplements, these all herbal supplements contain coumarin derivatives. It means it contains coumarin ring, which is a chemical structure as we discussed before, and that unit is responsible for increasing prothrombin time, because warfarin also contains coumarin ring. So that coumarin ring in the warfarin interact with that supplements that contain. So we need to understand. Then we discussed ginseng also increase prothrombin time, but the reason is still not known. So we need to discuss some of the food interaction as well, because some of the food also interact with drugs like vitamin K, which decrease anticoagulant response to warfarin. I already mentioned that warfarin and vitamin K have opposite effect. They can decrease INR. Some foods have high vitamin K, which is present naturally in different broccoli, Brussels sprout, cabbage, Spanish, and in liver. So we need to be very careful, because that food contain high content of vitamin K, and they are against mean that vitamin K, if we have more vitamin K, then it decreases the anticoagulant effect, or in other words that it decreases the activity of warfarin. So we need to be very careful with the drugs food interaction, especially the green vegetables. They having high content of vitamin K. How can we reverse the action of warfarin? By stopping the drug, obviously by giving oral vitamin K, because vitamin have an opposite effect. So vitamin K1 like phytonadione, then fresh frozen plasma. Then we have some complex such as babulin and propalax T, then recombinant factor like factor 7A. These all can reverse the action of warfarin. This is the picture of apowarfarin produced by company Apotex. Then orvarfarin is another product that is producing by another company. Then this is factor 9A for replanin VF. Then we have vitamin K, for example, if somebody need to reverse that effect, then quinacaone 10 milligram is available. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Hope to see you again.